We have to create the right vibe, the energy, and everybody at the organization has to feel so privileged to be here. It's no other way.
Thanks for listening to the Purely Arsenal podcast. Please follow us on Twitter at Purely Arsenal FP for all the latest Arsenal podcasts.
Welcome to another edition of a Purely Arsenal sit-down podcast. We're back after a mini hiatus for no particular reason, not because of the loss. And we're back with a bang with a 2-0 win against Brighton. Neil was there. We are here to talk about it. I've got Neil Shah with me. How you doing, Neil?
Hello, mate. I'm not bad. How are you doing? You all right?
Well, much better after that weekend. Yeah. It was a good weekend. Look, we went into this weekend, obviously, off the back of a pretty frustrating and... in many ways for ourselves in terms of missed chances, because again, probably because of the refereeing, which was devastatingly poor, I thought, at Villa. And I don't want to go too much into that, but I'm sure it's going to crop up a little bit. Feel free to. But we felt like we did obviously drop points. We did drop points. We lost last week, and all the other big teams won. So you definitely felt like, this weekend we had to win. And to be honest, Neil, when you look at it, it's been a terrific weekend. We've won, and City and Liverpool have not. They've both drawn. And going into it, I would argue that we had the toughest game going into this weekend, to be honest. I think Brighton are a really tricky team, very awkward to play against. They love to dominate the ball. First game in 32 that they hadn't scored in the league. They average about 16 shots per game, I think, this season. We kept them down to 6 total. They dominate possession in almost every game they play, no matter who they play against. This was about even. I think it was 51 to them, 49 to us. But overall, 26 shots to us. Probably one of our most dominant displays. It reminded me a little bit of Seville at home in the Champions League, actually, where it just felt like we suffocated them. And really, I know they had one chance, but we'll get to. But it was a really, really total dominating display that the scoreline never really reflected, unfortunately, which we'll get to that, and the poor finishing and the final ball, if you like, and stuff like that. But how did you feel going into this weekend, Neil? It's a long season, but it was a real sucker punch last week where we should have got something from it for sure. Went down an early goal. Obviously had a goal disallowed late on, missed a ton of chances. I don't even think it was a close game, to be honest. I think we battered Villa, to be honest. It was, and I don't know how they got away with it. It was an Emery masterclass in terms of fraud in it, way out. But how did you feel, Neil? I mean, games coming thick and fast. It's not really much time to breathe and take a step, a moment, and think about it. How did you feel going into this? I felt worried and nervous going into this weekend. Felt like we had to catch back up, and we did do that, but I wasn't comfortable walking into it.
Yeah, like you, I was seething after Villa, properly seething because of the officiating. I told you, I just said I'm so angry. I don't know if I can even talk on the podcast because I can't deal with it. I wanted to just hide away, dig a hole, and just hide away, because I just think it's just so much an injustice that we've suffered at the hands of these officials, and it's getting so blatant. And even yesterday, and it's probably still for you today, Jack. I was watching the game, and you'd think, how many fouls do they need to commit before a card is brandished? Yet White does something innocuous and bang, the yellow card is straight out, and you think, it's just never going to change. It really isn't. And I'm not just saying it's us. I've said it before that, look, I only look at our club, and I'm biased in that way because I'm an Arsenal fan. I'm fully aware that it's happening to other clubs, but I can only focus on us, and it's just too much. It's literally every single game. So I was really unhappy with what happened at Villa. There was nothing wrong with our goal from what I could see. I think there was a potential penalty that we should have had and we didn't get it. Usual thing. And you think that added to the most recent big one against Newcastle. We lost 2 points there, arguably. Again, we lost a point at least. Villa, that's 3 points. It's out of our hands. It's out of our hands. That's a win, isn't it? 3 points. So I was so angry, and So I'm not quite sure what I felt going into this game. Obviously, you're always excited, especially when you're lucky enough to get a ticket to go. It's always that excitement, and you're happy to be a part of something special. But I think I was more angry than nervous, I think. I still hadn't got over it. That's really weird. Normally you get upset for about 24 hours and you shake it off and you go, right, forget it, just move on to the next one. I couldn't this time. I just couldn't, Jack. I don't know why. So, yeah, for me it was more anger, but glad to obviously go. And actually very happy that he didn't make any changes, because I think that's one of our strongest first 11 or starting 11s that you could probably get, with the exception of maybe Partey being injured and, Timber's still obviously on the sidelines. But apart from that, especially with Havertz on the form now, you kind of accept that he's got to be a starter, or at least feature for most of the game if he comes on as a sub. So I was actually quite happy with the starting lineup as well. The only other thing which you were talking about before we started recording is the atmosphere. It's still okay. I said it again last time that I was here. It's still okay, but it's nowhere near the levels it used to be. Because that's why now you're getting the Odegaards, and you've got even Zinchenko, and they're like waving their hands saying, come on, crowd, get behind us.
Early on, yeah.
Early on, really early on. And I was like, what are we doing? Come on,
you don't think it's a disinterest, though, Neil? Right? It's not like you're looking around a stadium and people aren't engaged, right? So is it what we said last time we spoke about it, where it's just sort of like this collective anxiety, you think, or is there more to it? Expectation,
Yeah, I think it could be that. It could also be it could be worry, because end of the day, we've come off a loss, and that's what made the win so much more important yesterday. Given the other results around us went in our favour, so you really got that extra pressure that really got to get the win. So it could be a little bit of anxiousness, a bit of nervousness. And like what you were talking about, the expectation is different this season, because last season we weren't expecting to be doing so well, and all of a sudden we're like potential title, challengers. And I think that has dissipated, in the sense that now it's almost like we should be worthy, or we're up there by merit, if that makes sense. That we are already given title challenges. It was slightly different last season. So maybe there's that drop in expectation in that way, or almost like it was so like a surprise, and that surprise within you makes your emotions inflated, doesn't it? So it could be that. And now it's almost like, as you were saying, when we were in the golden era with Wenger, and certainly for me, I used to be like that. I said it before, again, I keep saying that. Sorry, I'll stop repeating myself. But before, I remember when I used to go to games in that era, I wasn't as excited, because it was almost given that we were going to win. It was weird. It was almost as if, let's have a challenge today, please. Let's have a bit more of an exciting game where we don't actually destroy a team by the first 45 minutes, which we were doing quite often. So it's almost as if there is actually nothing to get excited for. Of course, we're playing the most wonderful football, total football, probably some of the best football, if not the best football I've ever seen in the Prem. But the excitement level, that of last gasp winner, or, oh God, this could be close, it's not there. So I do it all the time, Jack. If I'm watching a game and we're winning quite comfortably, of course I'm still shouting and excited, but I think it's slightly tempered. It's like a little bit less than it would be if you're under the cosh and you're desperate for the win, and then out of nowhere you get that goal that you didn't expect, or like we've done quite a lot, we score in the last 2 minutes or whatever it is, or even deep into injury time. You just automatically get more excited, don't you? So I think it could be that, Jack. Yeah, but I don't like it. I liked it how it was last season.
Yeah,
the noise level,
of course.
And Ashburton and Army seemed to, although the drummers were out yesterday, quite powerful and quite loud. It just seems a little less. I don't like it. Yeah. I want it loud again.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that comes as the season progresses, because if it does, we've got some exciting moments ahead of us, And sometimes you can tell from Arsenal, from the moment we start. Obviously, the one thing I would say for the Villa game is we didn't start well. We like for all the endeavour, for how good we were, we went 1-0 down from their one main chance of the game. They had a couple of half chances after that. Very good work goal from them. Bit poor from us in the fullback region, I would say. But we didn't start well. It took us 10-15 minutes to get our collection together, and then it was pure domination for us. But obviously, sometimes that can be all that it takes at this level, and it turned out to be the case. But in this game, we were pushing on there because they will stick to their guns. Brighton, I got to respect them. I got a lot of respect for the way they play. Brighton, they will play and play and play out the way at the back. They believe in what they're doing. De Zerbi believes in how to play that way. It's refreshing in a way to see it when, especially at the Emirates this season. Like how many times you start games being like, here we go, 10 behind the ball. They were forced to put 10 behind the ball in this game, though, because when they were trying to play out the back, we'd suffocate them, we'd win, we'd overcome their press, we'd press them too much and win the ball high up. And but in the first half, Neil, it was a collection of brilliant play, but we just couldn't get the final ball. Chances. Odegaard had a couple of shots wide. Jesus, Saka as well. Wasteful, I felt a little bit. Martinelli I think he had 5 shots in this game. Martinelli, I did feel a large portion of this game was no one was attacking the 6-yard box. The amount of crosses, I haven't got the numbers on it, but the amount of crosses where I felt great ball and nobody was in there attacking the 6-yard box, and that might hint at some of the striker talk a little bit later. But how did you feel? Do you have any concerns? I mean, I think I said this to you a few weeks ago. Do you have any concerns that our finishing isn't quite there? What is really good, though, Neil, is my concern a few weeks ago when I said to you about it was I didn't feel we were creating enough. I felt we were always the better side and controlling games. I think Arteta got asked about it this week, and he said, "Have you gone away from the entertainment for more control?" And he was like, "Not at all." He went, "I'm not looking to control. I'm looking to dominate," and there's a big difference. That's basically what he said, and I think that's what we saw in this game. I think we dominated it. And so I was actually quite as frustrated as I was throughout the game. I was like, how are we not finishing? We're getting very frustrated with our final ball, final finish. 26 shots. I mean, that's a lot more than we've been having against far lesser opposition, by the way, earlier in the season, Neil.
Yeah, I agree. Firstly, I want to echo what you said about Brighton respect. I think they're a tremendous team, by the way. You were completely right by saying you think that out of City, Liverpool and us, we had the strongest opponents this weekend, 100%. Brighton are a tough team. They have dominated possession, as you said, in practically most of the games. They dominated it even yesterday. I didn't know that until I looked at the possession stats, because from where I was sitting, I thought, although they're great and they're a hard team to beat or grind down, I still felt that we had most of the possession, but actually they had 51 against our 49, and I was a bit surprised at that.
I think a lot of it was sorry to interrupt. I think a lot of it was in their own third. You know what I mean? Playing it out of the back, which is odd, isn't it? It's almost strange to look at that stat. That's
it. What was nice to see is I hate it because we're a free-flowing, enterprising football team, aren't we? And when teams seem to stifle us and understand that they have to have a low block and they will just basically destroy any joy out of the game, if you like, by playing these anti-football tactics. That's the only way they can stop us. And fair play, if that's the only way they can stop us, that's great. But what I liked yesterday is it was the other way around yesterday. We did it to them. And the way that we'd set up, it was, as you said, complete and utter suffocation. They could not get out. They were trapped. They just couldn't get out. Whatever they tried to do, we were on it because we were marking them so well in all the positions that they just didn't have any answers. The only way they could potentially have got out is if they played a long ball, which is not his style. And what was lovely as well, I don't know if you heard what he said afterwards. He just said, credit to Arsenal, because they were just better than us. You know, normally you hear an opposition manager making excuses or complaining about this and that, and they were lucky or this. He didn't. He just praised Arsenal. He said probably they're the best team at the moment in the league.
Yeah, no, refreshing.
And and he just said that they just did not let us play. And for the fact that they had one shot on target all game, which is really unusual for them too.
Was that right? Was it just one shot?
I think on target, wasn't it?
You may be right. That was the header, wasn't it? That went into Raya's arms. Then, if that's the only one I remember, I'm trying to have a quick look at the.
I'm sure it's only one shot on target. I might be wrong there.
I'm trying to scroll down and see if I got the stats. Yes, I think you're at 26. I can't even see it. It's saying none, no, but they definitely had one. They had 6 shots. No, they definitely had one on target. Yeah, carry on. Yeah. So to do that, it's a lot about the way we set up. Also, if you think about what you were saying about how we're different maybe to last season. Defensively, attacking prowess-wise, we're not the same. We don't have the same potency. You asked me if we're concerned. I still think I'm going to give you the same answer. You would feel that we're concerned, and I think there is a very big argument for an out-and-out striker. So yes, I'm going to agree to all of that. But we're still top. We're still doing it somehow. We're not like firing in goals left, right, and centre from everywhere. Nothing like last season. But what's different is defensively, we're so much better. We're so much more in control in that way. And I think a big proponent of that is Declan Rice. And I think he officially got the man of the match. It was him or Odegaard. It had to be, didn't it?
Exactly. One of those two. But what he's given us is absolutely ridiculous. Not only does he protect the back, but he offers us something when maybe there's no outlet other than him darting forward. He can play the 6 and the 8 as one man. That for me is a bit of a concern, because as strong as he looks, and he looks very, very strong unit, I worry that we're now becoming so super reliant on him in the middle. He is the engine now. It's not him and Partey. It's just him, literally. And you feel that, God forbid, if there's an issue, you know what I'm talking about, our curse. And that would worry me. But what stood out for me yesterday, the player that stood out for me more than Declan Rice was Odegaard. I feel that he's been missing lately. I don't know. It was
a very stop-start season as well, wasn't he?
Not the same. He's not been the same.
Yeah.
And yesterday I felt he was completely at his best or close to it, because he was responsible for so much of that creativity. And Jack, some of those passes...
That was the second in the first half.
Oh, my God, just literally cutting that defence into pieces, literally, was so beautiful to watch. I know there were some moments of trickery from some players, Jesus, that nutmeg, Martinelli, that nutmeg. Oh, no, Jesus wasn't the nutmeg, it was that piece of skill which it blew our...
Both against Dunk, wasn't it?
Oh, my goodness me, Jack. The whole stadium were like, a gasp at what he just did. And then I think Martinelli did something. I think Odegaard did something. It's like, we saw some nice pieces of skill. That alone is worth the admission ticket. It's just brilliant to watch.
Yeah.
But for me, it was Odegaard's just general, his thinking, his awareness, it was almost back to his instinctive best.
Yeah.
And I think that was the difference.
You know what I was really impressed with Odegaard, which is something he doesn't get a lot of credit for, was how he was dropping deep and under a lot of pressure, dropping deep, especially second half. And I just thought he was so good at getting out of pockets. I thought he was dropping deep, almost alongside Rice at times, to pick the ball up and progress it. Maybe this obviously we're 1-0 up at this point. And I thought he was really fantastic. But he just doesn't get the assists he deserves. His assist rate is just so low. And when I watch him, he creates. I mean, that ball to Saka was probably one of our best chances of the first half, where Martinelli ballooned over. Another wasteful chance by Martinelli this time. But again, Odegaard, he was, like you said, he was running the show. And on Rice, as you mentioned him, I think what's really, I mean, imagine we were sitting in Neil. I know we were top. Around top last year at this point, where we were top this point last year. But Thomas Partey had played basically every game this point last year. Basically, I think he missed one at Old Trafford and we lost it at this point. He was actually pretty fit. And if you talked on this podcast at this point, we would be saying exactly that about Thomas Partey, right? And I know, get to, whether he's ever going to play for us again, but in theory, that player has barely touched the grass this season. And so when everyone tells me, we need to replace Thomas Partey in January, I'm like, well, we already have Touchwood. He's a different type of player, I mean, Thomas Partey was never this good off the ball. No way. I mean, but on the ball, Thomas Partey's fantastic. But off the ball, Declan Rice is. I don't think there's anyone in the league that wins the ball back at the rate he does. I don't care what the stats say. I mean, he's just so good at anticipating where the ball is and where it could be and all. I mean, fantastic. And then he's driving runs as well, Neil. I feel that's the one area I'd say sometimes, his second half, I was really happy that he took the shot off. But I've seen I saw one at Villa, I saw one at Newcastle, I saw one in the first half where he's driving into the box and I'm just like, just shift it and shoot. And he doesn't. He'll play the pass to one of our wide players, and I think he's got it. I'm like, I'm genuinely, I just shift. Vieira used to. He came round to that point where he just drive and he just keep going. He just keep going, and it's not because players are. It's because they have the capability. And sometimes I think he's just a little bit reluctant, but I think he's coming out of his shell a little bit there, and that's really. But those two, well, I think they were on another planet to everyone else on the pitch, basically, weren't they? And if we get that right, then Havertz really has the ability to thrive, and which I think he is, and we'll get onto it. But I mean, what were the biggest missed chance in the first half? The Martinelli one comes to mind where he ballooned over. I mean, Gabriel having a header, Odegaard just wide. Sure, Saka had a couple where I felt he could have, we should have done
better. Did he hit one over as well? Was that the first?
He did balloon one over for his right foot. He's been a little bit.
Followed a good move too.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he had that big chance at Villa, didn't he, right before they scored. But as bad as we were in the early part of that game, I mean, it was a great 1-2 from him and Martinelli wide and then back, and should have wrapped his foot around it more. And I think we're not, I don't think necessarily Martinelli and Bukayo Saka are incredible finishers, but they know they should be doing better in front of goal than they have been the last two games, and they'll know that and they'll be aware of that. I can tell Odegaard's really frustrated I love how selfish he is in front of goal. Odegaard, I love that personally. You need that from your 10, I think, and I think he's unbelievable. So I think that's really important. But I mean, were you worried at half time? You were in the stadium. We'd had so much possession. I think we'd had 17 shots to their 0 or something at half time. We were so dominant. It was probably the most dominant first half we'd had all season. I mean, I felt, this could be another one of those days,
Yeah, you feel that. Is this one of those ones where you do everything right and the fate is against you? This is when then at half time I was talking about strikers. It's just natural. You can't help it. You can't. You just think that, look, we've got so much going on in the pitch. We've got it right. This is a really difficult team to play, and we're actually doing it. We're playing some nice football, and we're creating some good opportunities, and we're not finishing. So what's going on? And is it a confidence thing? Is it, as you said, do you know, it's so strange you mentioned about there was no one to back players up that were putting in crosses. And it's something that we haven't seen from Arsenal for a long time, I don't think. We used to be very guilty of it. There was one era that we just went through and we always used to cry, back them up. Where is the people running into the box? Ramsey used to do it, to be fair to him. He was really one of the early ones. But there wasn't many others. And that kind of worried me a little bit yesterday. I thought, what are we doing? Why aren't we following? Why aren't the other players who are not on the ball doing that? Surely it's something which is just has become so natural to us. That is the reason why we've got so many goal scorers these days. So why are we lacking that today? Is it a confidence thing? Are they scared of being offside? Well, what's going on here? But anyway, for me it was more about the striker options. And are we going to sign anyone in January? Is it going to be more potentially something that's looked at in the summer? I will carry on my conversation that I was having after the guys I was with. I think, yes, I think we do need to invest in that area. I think we just need someone that's going to just be a clinical goal scorer. It doesn't have to be a regular starter, but an option to have. And, not only be a clinical striker, but someone that can hold the ball. But then, having said that, and who I'm going to talk about, I think we might have the answer sort of in Havertz, because he's starting to score now.
Well, it's funny you say that because with two of our goal scorers or two of our striking options are the ones that get the goals. And those are the two people that I look at. I mean, specifically when the 6-yard box, I do think Havertz, because he is also an off-the-ball player. I mean, he had the lowest amount of touches in the game other than David Raya. And if you look at almost every game, and he is dramatically improved. And I have to say, if Mikel Arteta pulls this one round playing Havertz in an 8, I'll never doubt him on anything again. I genuinely won't, because I couldn't see. I don't think a lot of us could see it in the first sort of 6 to 8 weeks, and he's improving by the week. He really is. I think the turnaround for me was Newcastle away. Funnily enough, I watched him against Newcastle away, and we lost, but I was like, that's a different player there. And then ever since then, he's grown and grown. He's had 4 in 7 now. He's 3 away from Xhaka's goal scoring contribution for the whole of last season, two of which he got in the final game, which was a very sort of end of season hurrah, if you like, where Wolves weren't really there. So that's he's already pushing the numbers, right? We were saying before, giving him penalties and things like that. Well, there's none of that anymore because he's turning up. But when I was watching that, I wasn't specific. That's the player that I think of, because I always think he's off the ball. He's not involved anywhere near as much as the other front four. We include him as part of the front five in the build-up play. He isn't as involved in it. So when the ball goes, I think he crash the box, and I get frustrated where I think sometimes he stops at the penalty spot, and I'm just like, we've got to take that chance. But funny enough, Neil, I'm saying all this about crosses and stuff. We are the best team in the league from set pieces. I think we're joint with Everton. And I'll tell you what, I despise Sean Dyche, but if you joint with him on set-piece goals, you're probably doing all right, because that's all he practices, let's be honest. So, and it was another one, wasn't it? Flick on, obviously, from them, but we were dangerous from set-piece. I mean, we had a lot of them, but we were dangerous from set-pieces all the time. Ben White had one cleared off the line in this game. Jesus, that was striker's instinct, really, being off the back post and no one near you, and you'd see him score many of those, I'm sure. But it was great. It was a relief, but it was great, wasn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I think if goal had been scored against us like that, we would be crying, where are the defenders? What are they doing? Why is it they've got a player unmarked? So I guess we got a bit lucky that no one picked up on Jesus. But yeah, it was just a relief. I mean, he's not going to get many goals like that as easy as that, I think. I mean, for a player of his capability, it's literally just seems right exactly in the right place. And it was just about connecting with his head. Literally, it's an open goal because it was just completely unmarked. But sometimes we need a bit of luck like that. And I think for all the hard work, we deserved it. There is no way that if that game had ended up in a draw or, God forbid, a loss, we wouldn't have deserved that, because we were the far better team. We stopped Brighton doing practically everything apart from that one late chance that they had, which, got everyone a bit squeaky bum time. But apart from that, as you said, it's probably one of our best performances this season, if not the best, in terms of control and possession. In possession in the sense of control possession. I'm not talking about overall possession, if that makes sense. And yeah, I think it was just so desperately needed. That's when the crowd erupted, because I think it was more not just celebration of the goal, but relief. Because again, I'll keep bringing Villa up. It was I don't know why that game has affected me so much, but I'm sure I can't be the only one. I think a lot of other fans would have been so hard done by that game, and you just feel that we are. It really does feel like we're playing against 12, Jack. It really, really, honestly does.
Well, should we bring that up, Neil? Because we've gone past it, and so should we bring it? You talked about the white, and I was just like you. I mean, I'm sitting there at 6 a.m. My kids are asleep. I'm not going to shout unless something big's going on. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm like, I can't wake them up. And my wife was away, so I'm like, definitely I'll keep them asleep for a little bit. You know what I mean? And I'm up in the air, because what I said, as soon as obviously Milner in the first, Saka had him on toast in the first half, and Milner was basically tactically fouling him, pulling him down non-stop. Arteta had every right, I believe, to be really frustrated at that point, because what happened is what happens every week to us. They make 7 fouls and get no booking, and the first foul we make, whilst I think it's fair to give it as a booking, but it's not fair to give it a booking when their fullbacks have been doing it for 40 minutes. And then we do one and they give it as a booking. And why do they give it as a booking, Neil? They give it as a booking, one, because it's us, but really they give it as a booking because it's a breakaway, because we're dominating. So it's a breakaway, which is wrong, Neil, because that means we don't get the booking because we're dominating. So we're always in their halves. So it's game state refereeing. He's literally going, well, you're already there, aren't you? So like, it's not like you're not like something could happen from it because you're all in that half anyway. That's what I think it is. I genuinely do. I mean, with that specific scenario, was sort of moan corruption. There's more about other stuff with that, but it happens every week, Neil. I mean, Saka will get 5 fouls, no booking, our fullback 1 and a booking, whether it's Zinchenko or Ben White. It can be really costly, can't it? And we saw it. We saw how costly it was with earlier in the season when Tomiyasu got a second booking and he missed the game against Fulham a week later. Neither of them were bookings, and obviously we dropped 2 points. You know, it's things like that, isn't it, Neil? That these little micro things that people don't look at, but it's so consistent with us. I think we get ref differently.
100%. I'm you know me. I'm going to say corruption. I never used to, but I've turned over to the dark side recently, and I think it is. I used to like kind of question fans about, it can't just be corrupt. It can't be that. You know, it's about luck. Always seems to work all its way around. You'll get your good luck, and then you'll get your bad luck. And as I said, all teams stuff. I don't anymore. I don't see it like that. I do feel that it's more against us, and you feel completely helpless. You know it's going to come, and it still comes, and it's like, surprise us one day, ref, surprise us. Yeah. Have it that we have a good game and a clean officiating game. No way. And I saw you saw the number of fouls that they were committing and nothing. The crowd were getting irate, and then that's when all the boos and, you know, the referees, that all started, and you don't know what you're doing. All of it. That's when the crowd piped up, all for the wrong reasons, unfortunately. I don't know where you go with it, Jack. You know, they trying to do their very level best to stop us because they can see us as an exciting team. Well, we are an exciting team. You know, that there's already some comparisons of the Wenger Golden era, what Arteta's creating here, and you just it's I don't know. I just feel very hard done by all of it, and there's nothing I don't think it's going to change. That's the worrying part, and it's almost doesn't it have a lot? Doesn't it say a lot, Jack, that most fans go into every game expecting it now? It shouldn't be that way, should it? You when you watch any sport, Jack, you're of a sporty person yourself. When you watch any sport, the first thing you want is a level playing field. Isn't that right?
Yeah, of course.
It doesn't feel that way anymore, mate.
No. And if you talk about the two decisions, I mean, because we've lost 2 big away games this season, and I don't necessarily think we deserve to win at Newcastle. We definitely didn't deserve to lose. Villa's a whole other story. And, you know, Villa's partly our fault. We're not sort of looking at it from that perspective. But the biggest issue with those sort of 2 big decisions, and not to go too much over VAR, is the goal they gave against Newcastle and the goal that they didn't give against Villa, is the initial sort of innate reasoning or desire to give it against us. That's my issue. Like, imagine being able to watch that Newcastle goal in live time and say, I'm going to give it, when there was so many reasons to rule it out. And I'm going to give it. And why do you give it? Because you know VAR can't re-referee a game. It can't re-referee a game. So if I give it, there's already a better chance that this goal, this decision stands. Yet from 25 yards away, when 2 players on opposing teams might have handled the ball, but you can't really tell, you immediately rule it out, which again puts it onto VAR. And VAR, as we've seen some of the audios released, VAR strongly focuses on edging towards the decision being already made on the field. That Newcastle goal doesn't stand without it. I mean, it's the definition of hypocrisy to claim that something in the Villa game happened that we're not sure of. Like, did he handle it? Did he even finish it?
Unbelievable.
But in the Newcastle game, you say the ball can't really be out because we don't have another angle of it, but the ball is out from the angle we do have. But we can't prove it that it isn't but we can't prove that Joelinton's is a foul either. It's complete hypocrisy within the same moment. And for all the people that will say, the worst hard done by team or whatever is Liverpool because the audio was released of a genuine mistake. That decision was no way near the Newcastle decision for me. Not even in the same ballpark. Not because what people have looked at that audio is as an objective. If you watch the Liverpool offside, and we know now the lines aren't really objective at all, it's really hard to tell. What they've done is reviewed it and then communicated poorly. It's a terrible decision against Liverpool. But when you look at the 3 possible 4 problems that occurred at the Newcastle one, it's unfathomable that was ever given, to be honest. It's actually crazy. The Villa one, okay, the letter of the law is stupid, possibly, maybe that one edges out, but there was a lot of other decisions in that game, Jesus' penalty particularly, that I found really interesting that they could not give that, especially when, I don't know why no one brought it up, but do you remember a penalty that we won last season against Liverpool at home when we won 3-2 and Jesus was tapped on the back of his heel by Thiago? It was a pen. It was about a tenth of the contact that Douglas Luiz made on Jesus. So when they say you can't give that, accidental, he's looking at the ball, it's a foul all day, isn't it? It's a foul anywhere on the pitch. That
you said it on the pod. I think you discussed it. You said that it's a bit stupid, but it's the letter of the law.
Yeah. So. Yeah, it's incredible. Like when I saw, but again, me watching it, I'm watching that game largely on mute, that Villa one, and I'm watching it going, I know they're not giving it. And that Villa game is 3 days after what I believe 1, probably 2 obvious penalties against Luton that also could have cost us dearly. I mean, the Gabriel one is unbelievable. I mean,
his shirt's been pulled off, Jack.
And the player isn't even looking at the ball. The player, literally, the ball's in the air, and the player is just pulling him down.
Dragged down. It dragged him down so much.
Yeah.
Gabriel wouldn't even want to get his head on the ball. He's actually pulling away from the trajectory of the ball. I mean, how much more obvious do you want it to be? No,
it's incredible. I think I think we've been done over big time on decisions this year.
Do you know? Sorry, very quickly. You talked about micro decisions that some people don't notice. Also, not during game time where we're getting these cards, potential sending offs or whatever it is, but also if you think about it, these yellow cards that sometimes are just flashed willy-nilly at us add up. Now, Kai Havertz is the one card away from a ban.
Yeah.
So even that, I know it ends up only being one game, but one game that a certain player could be banned from a card which you think, right, we got that card, and yet they've committed 20,000 fouls before that and nothing's been given. And one player gets that card, could then land them in a ban, like Kai Havertz, and could miss a crucial game, Jack.
Yeah. I think White is also now one game away from a ban, but I haven't got the data on me. But, I'm going to check.
He hasn't even played that as consistently as well.
I know.
Worse.
That's why when I saw it receive 5, I got to look that up. But I think when he booked, I was sure he was one of the top ones. But I'll have to look that up. So I don't know where that data is. But you're right on Havertz. He was on 4. That was the worry going into this game, wasn't it? It looks like 2. So maybe he's only on 3 then, according to the search that I just made. But on the Arteta yellow card, I'm not sure. I've not rewatched it. Maybe you saw it in the stand. I didn't see him brandishing a yellow. I saw him getting irritated, and I know after the game he said, I was waving at. I think there was a cheat, which is brilliant. Brilliant. But what are we doing? What are we doing? Because he had every right to get frustrated. And what we saw later on in the day, I don't know if you watched the Man U game, was Michael Oliver again wanting to be the centrepiece. He's the younger version of Mike Dean, let's be honest. But giving 2 yellow cards for a wrong decision that he made in the last 2 minutes of a game. Dalot had every right to be upset. It was a throw-in given to Liverpool. He gets upset. They gives him a yellow card. Then he gets a little bit more upset for the yellow card and he gives him a red card. I mean, what is this? What are we doing here? Why has it become sort of an authoritarian teaching position where Arteta did nothing? I've seen.
Oh, come on! You're not allowed to get upset.
And he didn't do it. He didn't abuse. He didn't do anything. Just like his post-match interview, where he's been somehow now everyone's said he's been charged with nothing, and he's been cleared of it. But the problem's already been set. You've already set the precedent for a month that Arteta's the problem. when he wasn't. He said, we saw yesterday Marco Silva, probably well within his rights after going to St James's Park, saying, I've never seen a referee in performance like it. I mean, he literally gave every decision to Newcastle, and way worse than probably well within his rights than what it won't get talked about again. What was the most incredible thing reading the report is that they said that Arteta's position and status as a big name manager is the reason they feel he should be charged as well, and that is incredible, because that is really what that is saying, is you are refereeing us differently. And obviously the ban at Luton is a complete joke, a complete farce. We've seen managers during game time sprint onto the centre circle of a pitch,
come on,
celebrate with goalkeepers, and nothing. And people that make the argument that decision has it's changed now. Nonsense. It hasn't changed now, because otherwise bookings would be going out every week for someone stepping out their technical error. It's not changed now. Look, I think Arteta's very emotional. He's a young coach, first job. Of course he's emotional. Of course he is. Do you think he's as emotional as some of the other? Look at what some of the others have done. Mourinho, Klopp, Pep. I mean, he's been down on his knees.
Ferguson.
It's unreal, Neil. It's unreal. I mean, he's going to pick up a yellow card every week, because they're literally... They're out to get him. Problem we've got, Neil, is it doesn't do us any favours on the pitch, does it? And Mikel Arteta may have to look at that a little bit and go, I think they've got it for me too, but what is this doing us any favours really on the pitch? Do I have to just sort of, I don't know, hold myself more? But he can't change. But I thought that was ridiculous today. I'm like, even Arteta's like, okay, I'm frustrated with a decision that's rightly frustrated, because you're not booking a player after you've given us one booking like a minute earlier for the exact same thing. I think it was Matoma, wasn't it? Was pulling Saka back, or maybe it was
Matoma. Yeah,
it was Matoma, which is interesting, because later on in the game, Matoma, who was already booked, is waving the yellow card for one of our players.
Yeah.
So again, if Arteta did do that, then Matoma's sent off, mate, and that's where it throws off, doesn't it?
Got to laugh, mate.
Yeah, you got to laugh, otherwise you'll cry, won't you? But
I don't get it. The guy, he's emotional, as you said, naturally. But why aren't people allowed to get emotional in their technical area? That's whole part of being on the touchline. Because you want to get emotional, they try and send a message out to your players. Yeah. And also, if you're not allowed to do that, what are you just supposed to sit there with your hands tied behind your back and put a little gag over your mouth? There's no point having a manager then on the touchline. You might as well just have Arteta sitting in the stands every blooming week. And that's another thing. No one's mentioned the fact that may have also contributed to us not getting the result or getting a point at Villa, because he wasn't there.
He's been on the sidelines, isn't he?
At the end of the day, how can you do that? He didn't even step out of his technical area, so he didn't break those rules. But he just because he's flaying his arms out a bit, he gets a card. I mean, chat, we have seen much worse. And why is it? I mean, look, and you've put out a banging tweet that has gone viral, and rightly so, because it's absolutely you've successness. I can't say that word, but you've just got to the point. You've said it. You said facts. Yeah, that's it, and that's why it is. Yeah.
When did petulance or frustration become worse than violent conduct? When did that happen? I mean, Mike Oliver, the one that immediately came to mind when I saw the Man U incident, I was like, who's the ref? Oliver. That obviously you remember the Kovacic incident.
Oh, don't.
The first one's a red card anyway, but let's say it's a yellow. Let's say it's an orange or something. He's gone down the back of his Achilles. It's a red card anyway. They reviewed it. They give it. He does the same thing again. And what's unbelievable about that is it happens again, and he's so adamant, Michael Oliver, not even to review it. He goes, no, like that. So adamant. And then what he found out later, after discussion with Howard Webb and all this sort of rubbish, was that he didn't want to ruin the spectacle of such a big game by making the decision early. Now, that is not what a referee is there to do. They're there to make the right call. They're not there to go, damn, this is the right call in the wrong moment. And that plays into what happened yesterday. And I think certain teams, like Liverpool, like Newcastle, like Manchester United, get so many decisions going their way at home, and we do not get our fair shake at home. If it's going to happen with other big six clubs, we do not get it. We get, at the very least, level playing field, which it should be. But when you go to Anfield and Darwin Núñez is doing all of that, kicks the ball away, makes an elbow, and starts berating the assistant ref, mocking him as well, And that's a booking. But then, you see what I mean? It's in the same game you're making the stupidest decisions. And the argument there would be, would you ever send a player off for Liverpool in the first 20 minutes at Anfield in a big game? It's not going to happen, is it? Not going to happen. And that's my issue. And that you might say that's something to do with crowd and atmosphere. And can we be more on top of it? And refs cave to that. But we haven't got strong enough refs in this league, and that's a whole other problem. And that's what has to be completely rid of. Yeah, and that's not changing, and it's not changed in our lifetime, so it's not going to change. It's got worse if anything. So, but I mean, back on Jesus' fantastic goal, 1-0 up, but you see how quickly we had chances after that, Neil. But you see how quickly it can change, because I don't know about you. I don't know where you were in the stadium, but I thought that was a goal when they crossed the ball, and I think it was to Gross. Was it Pascal Gross? And I thought that, I think he hit the side netting, but I was just waiting for the net to ripple. I mean, I don't know how it stayed out. I really don't. And that is how tentative 1-0 leads are. We saw how I mean, I was watching the City game, and at 2-0, I stopped watching it because they'd had 20 shots on goal, and I don't think Palace had a touch in their half. And I checked the score 10 minutes before the end. I went, it's 2-1. I was going for a jog, and I went, all right, I'll go out and stretch it and watch this. And it was incredible to see what happens when it's just a goal in it, and how teams sort of change. And City were doing things you'd never expect them to do in that last 5 minutes, and they dominated the game. And that's why 1-goal lead is just so tentative, isn't it, Neil? And it builds the nerves up. But I don't know about you. I mean, we were pretty controlled defensively, but it just takes one moment, doesn't it?
It does. I think, to be fair to Brighton again, they played better in the second half, in the sense that they were doing a bit more of what Brighton we're accustomed to seeing from Brighton. I'm not saying that was a drop in our levels. I just think that Brighton maybe had gone up a couple of gears. They'd had the talking to at half time, and fair play to them. You know, credit where credit's due. But even despite that, yeah, you're right. We were just in total control. We just weren't controlling the final ball. That's it. Or the finishing touch. We just weren't. And of course it puts you under tenterhooks, because everyone's saying, we need another goal. We need another goal. We need another goal. Everyone. I think we've become almost like a single-minded unit as us Arsenal fans. We were so divisive, 3-4 years ago, even a little bit earlier than that, or more recently than that. But now we all just think the same thing. We need another goal. And we're not going to win if we don't get another goal. And it almost undid us, didn't it? Almost undid us.
Yeah.
That's one chance.
It's Matoma getting off the back of White. That brings me to the fullback chat, and I'll go back to Havertz. But I have a little bit, I mean, there's definitely a concern at fullback. We know we're short defensively. We've lost Tomiyasu for a few weeks again. We can't rely on him fitness-wise as much as I think he was starting to edge maybe even White out of the team, because he's been probably our best defender in fullback positions. Do you have any concerns with White? He's obviously been out for 3 or 4 weeks where he wasn't in the team, and he obviously was feeling something. He wasn't 100% fit, because Mikel Arteta alluded to that, which is why he missed a squad, a few weeks earlier. But my concern is that I don't think we deal with fatigue very well in the fullback position. And like when we get tired, the answer was to bring on Tomiyasu, right, and shut it up on that side. And he was brilliant at doing that. We don't have that option anymore, and I don't think he trusts Kivior enough to beat. I mean, you saw in this game how late Kivior come on. He doesn't trust him enough yet defensively, because he's had some games. In fairness, he's not completely out in the cold or anything. He's definitely had some games in there in the last few weeks, but he doesn't trust him enough. He started at Luton. I came off at 60 minutes. He didn't have a great game. And I think Ben White specifically doesn't deal with fatigue, and that's what you saw later on. I think he handled Mitoma pretty well in the whole game. I thought he handled Mitoma. He's an unbelievable winger. I mean, I'd love him at Arsenal. He handled him pretty well.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, but then when he gets tired, and obviously they're pushing a little bit more, he doesn't deal with the pace. And obviously next week got Diaz, who's an unbelievable winger as well. I just wondered if you have any concerns. Obviously, you know about Zinchenko's vulnerabilities, but we don't talk quite as much about Ben White's maybe.
Yes and no. From an offensive point of view, I thought he was doing a little bit more than what we've been missing. We've been missing a lot of those triangle relationship between Ben White, Odegaard, and Saka. Over like White darting down, up the field and doing the overlaps and doing the triangles with Odegaard involved. And I think that's a big, massive proponent. That's what's been missing this season, which was so fundamentally there constantly last season. So, but I saw a little bit of that coming back in White yesterday, and I was encouraged by it. But I agree. I think White has been an unsung hero. So let's start with that first. I think a lot of what he does goes unnoticed because he does it. He just does it. He gets on with it, and he does the job. And I think he's been a great player. He's been a great player for us. I would never ever sit there and think we've got a problem there. But I think you do hit the nail on the head when it comes to fatigue. Yes, and where before we were how many times have we said it this season in pods that we've done that defensively? My God, how many options have we got? We've got players that can just, be flexible. We can put one person here if they don't normally play there, and they'll go and fit in that position nicely. Unfortunately, now Timber didn't get a chance to start. Tomiyasu's out. Is he going to go to the Asia Cup? Don't know. Maybe. So we'll be losing in there as well. Knowing our luck, let's assume that
he'll go. Yeah, he'll go.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So who do we have? If White is a problem, who do we put in that position? Are we going to
I think the answer is Thomas Partey, but if he's going to go too.
Exactly. So who goes there? So it is, I think, if we're looking ahead and we're looking at dangerous teams that have dangerous wingers like Mitoma, and again, unbelievably you said that. So I said it again to the guy. I said, I'd love him at Arsenal. Look at him. He's a great player. He's fabulous, isn't he? Fitting perfectly with us.
Yeah.
But at the moment, he's not our player. He's the enemy. And how are we going to be dealing with players like that? So, yes, I am a little bit concerned unless... you said, you know what? I think it was last season you called it, that you would actually be looking at someone in his position because of fatigue problems. I'm sure I
argued it in the summer and we didn't do it. We got Timber in, didn't we? So yeah,
that's right. But you were suggesting it, weren't you? You did say, I'm a bit worried because one thing I do notice is White seems to tire easily out of all of them, probably because it's quite a demanding position. So it's not necessarily his fitness that's in question. It's just the tiring work rate. And you think about it, Jack, I think certainly back in those days, I'm talking about those days as if they were years ago, it was only like a few months ago, a lot of our attacks were going down the right-hand side. I think because of Saka, we were focusing more on that right. So obviously Ben White is going to be working more. I'm not suggesting for a second the players on the left are not working. Of course they're working. Martinelli's work rate's unreal. And Zinchenko, whether he's a defender or not, he does work hard. I'm not saying he doesn't. But I think because of it was more right-sided, Ben White was having to do that extra bit, which in the olden days, you wouldn't expect a player of his position be working that hard because he's also involved in the attacks as well as the defensive duties. Yeah.
So a little bit more of a natural role on the right back, don't we?
Yeah.
Like obviously left back's inverted lots. So Zinchenko doesn't cover as much ground. He has lots of touches, but Ben White does have to play a bit more of a sort of natural right back style position, which requires a lot more energy than what he's used to at centre back, for example. And I'm not saying I think he is a fit bloke. I mean, obviously, touchwood, he is. I think he was one of our 4 players with the most minutes last season, alongside Saka and Ramsdale. So, I mean, and I think the other one must have been Xhaka. So, he's definitely capable. But what you notice is when he is tired or he's slightly off it's really obvious. It really, really. I think we had a game at home against United last year that we won 3-2, and he came off at half time. And I remember a few of us saying in the text, we were like, he's just stopped running against Rashford. He's just stopped moving. We were just like, get him off. And he's not quite there with that. I thought he took a big step today, almost yesterday for it. Like in terms of, I thought for the majority of the game, he was fantastic. But when we came under a little bit of pressure, because he's not slow, Ben White, but he positionally just becomes a little bit less aware. And then Mitoma's in behind him a couple of times. And you're like, hold on. And Mitoma is one of the trickiest wingers, but we got another one next week as well. So that concerns me. But what concerns me is the inability to rotate, because at that point he sees that Arteta and he goes, Tomiyasu, you're on, and we don't have that option. And it's a real dilemma in January, Neil, because we've got only 5 defenders that are fully fit, but potentially by February, if you include Thomas Partey in it, we've got 7 defenders fit. And at that point, you go, because Tomiyasu might be back and Thomas Partey might be back, you go, well, right now. And so do you invest? We're not going to get a loan, I don't think, for that type of player. So do you invest in another player? Because you've still got Timber to come back, in the future. It's a really, I don't know what the right answer is. I mean, the ideal answer is find a really great short-term solution that's a year or two signing. But that I don't think they're out there. So like in January especially. So I don't know. I keep going back and forth. Everyone that says to me defence is a priority in January, I'm like, I get you. I in the short term, I definitely get you. And I think Arteta will address it because he always is concerned by defensive numbers and defensive support and stuff like that. And it's clear from midweek that he doesn't trust in a youngster like a Raw Waters to come in there. Because you don't play Cedric in midweek if he does. I didn't. I mean, you were very frustrated with the lineup, but my biggest frustration in midweek was that I was like, do we need to see Cedric? Could we not have given the youngster that game time? Because what are we going to learn from playing Cedric? Even if we go down to 4 defenders, we're not going to bring Cedric on. We'll put El Neni back there. Like that's, but you know what I mean? We won't, but I don't think we will. So, that was probably my frustration. I was like, you can't look at him now. When you're not going to look at him, are you? I mean, he's not that young, Will Waters. He's 19, I think. So it's a little bit of an interesting one. But I think he will address it in the January. I have no idea how, but I think he will try to address it. But it's a little concern, isn't it? Because like take next week, Neil, or our previous game against Liverpool at Anfield, there was a point in that game where we're really under the cosh. We had to try to change the fullback area. We couldn't. Tomiyasu was unfit there, I think, as well. And the only option we had was Kieran Tierney. Didn't trust Tierney either. Brought him on in about the 87th, 88th minute. And I'm looking at it going, I'm not sure you trust Kivior much more in the fullback position at this point. So that's, a worry, isn't it? Like a worry because, it's we don't have the ability to change there. We don't have the ability to change defensively.
We've got to be 5-0 up at half time at Anfield then. Then we don't have to worry.
Jesus. Yeah.
I know.
Get to
it's
that,
terrible, isn't it? But it is concerning. I agree with you, and I can see exactly where you're coming from, and I don't know what the answer is because there are other positions as well which potentially we might need to address.
Yeah.
So what do we do, and what does he do? And January, we're not going to get that many players, Jack. They're not going to be that available. And I don't think
the argument in January, and I think it's a fair argument, is if you're going to do something, at very least one of the deals has to affect that season. Like Kivior was brought in, I think, 6 months early. Like he was brought in 6 months early, and the reason he was brought in is because we had money from the deal we were trying to do with Mudryk, etc., and we pushed it along. Yeah. But Trossard was one that immediately affected the season, right? I mean, he was probably the best January signing we'd seen. Yeah, I mean, and we didn't win it, but it wasn't because of Trossard. I mean, he was fantastic. So, yeah, but Neil, Havertz, the second goal, lovely from the subs. Odegaard plays it to Eddie. Eddie does really well because I think maybe a month ago we played that ball to Saka. But we see Havertz now, and Havertz makes that run now. I don't know, but sometimes I used to see Havertz in those positions earlier in the season, and the ball wouldn't get to him for whatever reason. And we weren't used to it, perhaps because you don't find Granit Xhaka in that position. I don't think maybe, but he does really well. He takes the goal really well. He had a good performance again, I thought, on the ball. Feel like he can do a little bit more when he gets the ball sometimes, but he's improving weekly, isn't he?
It's absolutely, his numbers are the clear evidence of that. He's actually converting, he's scoring goals, he's contributing, he's getting involved. And that's going to absolutely enhance his confidence in the right way. He had a header, didn't he, which he ballooned over. He could have maybe got that on target. And that worried me because I thought oh no, is this going to be the start of him dropping again? But no, because when he took that goal, it wasn't the simplest of finishes, but he made it look easy, I think. But I have to give Eddie credit. That was a great assist. That was a lovely assist from Eddie. Good awareness. It was just a lovely break. Very natural break and just perfectly executed. Didn't Rice start that as well? Or was I wrong? I can't remember who started that move. Sorry, you're on mute, Jack.
Sorry, my child was crying. So
Martinelli was involved.
It was Odegaard that gave the ball to, but it might have come initially from Rice. Most things do. So
I might get mixed up with the other one where he intercepted a brilliant one and then we didn't finish it. That would have been a great move as well. See, there were so many instances of that, and there's so many instances of Rice doing what Rice does. Sometimes gets confusing, but.
You're talking about the one just before it, where he gets the ball to Martinelli. Martinelli makes the nutmeg, and Odegaard takes a while and hits the shot.
Oh, that was such an amazing move! My gosh,
brilliant interception by Rice.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think in that respect, the game was a lovely game to watch because we were doing some nice things, weren't we? But I have to give Kai Havertz so much credit. I think he's taken so much abuse. No one knew. And you know what? You're saying the pass wasn't... You never saw that pass coming to him before. I'm wondering if these fellow players have now just instinctively become confident in him. Because before, if you're on a pitch and you've got a group and you've got one player or two players and they're not unsure of themselves or they're a little unsure of themselves and you don't quite know what their role is, we were saying it. No, everyone was a bit confused. What's he going to actually contribute to this team? What's his role? What's his agenda here for himself? What's going on here? We don't know. No one seems to know. What is Kai Havertz here for? And now I think it's starting to become a little bit more obvious what he's going to be doing and how he's going to change things for us. An option that we didn't have last season, for example. And I think now the players around him they've seen what he's done in recent games and they're confident in him. So they're allowing him to have a passage of play and get him involved and get a ball to him. And if that's going to be a commonality going forward, I think that's another option on top of the Martinelli, Jesus, Saka, Trossard attacking options, plus Odegaard, because now he's starting to hit a bit of form again. So, we're doing well up there, I think. And then that kind of makes me contradict my need of that striker I was talking about earlier. Yeah. Because then do we need him? Because Havertz could be half an answer here because he's strong. He certainly could hold up bowling. He's physically strong, Jack.
Provides that option if we need to go long.
Exactly. I think he could probably win most, if not all, one-to-ones if he's trying to hold the ball. He can be certainly a target man. If he gets his heading good and accurate, and improves on that and at least get it on target, if not always necessarily be a goal, it could be that option, Jack, without having to invest. I don't know. I could be wrong. I don't know. I mean,
on the striker, I just can't. I just think we're going to go big on it. And I think if we're going to go big on it, it's going to be the summer.
That's summer then.
And we saw one of the options that James really likes in Evan Ferguson in this game. And you won't be aware that he played because I don't think touch the ball.
Yeah, but hang on. But is that down to, which we didn't mention, we talked a lot about Rice, but I think Saliba and Gabriel did a good job on him.
Yeah, really good.
So and quietly so. So it almost goes unnoticed.
Yeah.
So you can say, all right, that guy looks a good option. We're potentially linked to him, but look he did do nothing against us. But you can't just put that on the fault of the attacker. You've got to also credit the mastery of the defensive, the two centre backs.
Yeah.
Sorry, and I thought they did an amazing job on him.
Yeah, no, they were terrific. I mean, like you said, they always are. They so often are terrific. I mean, we've got the best defensive record in the league alongside Liverpool. But what's big for us, and I hope is big for us, is we really don't concede a lot of chances. And even if we concede a goal, like even against Villa, we lost, but we gave them nothing.
Joint top of that in that as well.
And I think Liverpool have conceded the same amount as us, but we're level with them. I think it's 15 apiece, I think. But we really, I heard someone on an Arsenal podcast this week say, he felt, we were a little bit lucky in that area. We conceded a lot more, and I couldn't disagree more. I think we've been unlucky in what goals we have conceded, because I think we've conceded too many for the amount of chances we've given up. I genuinely do. Like, look at Newcastle. Shouldn't have conceded there.
Shouldn't be a goal.
I mean, that chance is worth a hell of a lot, but that isn't a chance. It's a foul. Beyond that, they didn't create a thing. And this is a team that Newcastle, I think they're second top goal scorers in the league. Same with Villa. I think they're top goal scorers in the league, Villa, at the moment. And they scored against us, but they barely created a thing. And they created 25 shots against City 3 days earlier. So, and some people say, well, it doesn't matter, you lost the game, fair enough. But I think that is an important thing, right? I mean, I think we are calmer, we are collectively better defensively, and I think it's important. And the two main differences there are Rice and currently Raya. And those guys, for all, I mean, Raya's definitely had some errors for sure, but I do sense in these type of games, I feel calmer, but I think it's probably largely to do with Rice and the defence being more cohesive. But it does feel calmer back there. It feels calmer at times. And whereas, and he was almost playing like a third centre-back because we were playing so much with the ball in this game. So he's more playing with his feet than his hands. But it feels calmer. And I think he's trying to eradicate, chaos and errors within the team. And in fairness, Thomas Partey, I love Thomas Partey, but he used to make a lot of errors leading to goals. He used to lose the ball a lot because he'd always try to play that incisive pass quickly, and he would make errors leading to goals. We saw as much in the Charity Shield this season. That was City's goal came from
Rice isn't making those mistakes, Jack, at all.
No, he plays it a little bit safer, Rice, but that's why, because he doesn't lose the ball as much. I mean, if you look at he's 91% pass percentage, but it's there every week. Every week it's there. But yeah, brilliant from Havertz. I think got a little bit lucky with the finish because it almost went directly at the goalkeeper, and the goalkeeper shifted.
Yeah, but still
need that luck. And before earlier in the season, I'm not even sure he's in that position, to be honest. I'm just not sure he's making those runs as regularly, which is really good. He's got a great engine as well. I mean, he can go. He's got a really good engine.
It's a really good point. He's a big guy, but he doesn't look like he's ever blowing wind, or he's just not blowing wind. So came out wrong, didn't it? But he doesn't look like he's out of breath, and he doesn't. You were talking about White's fatigue, but he's quite a tall and big guy, and you think that people like that maybe can tire maybe a little bit quicker. So they've got more muscle, they've got more mass to move around. Yeah, defenders have to be big, but I don't think they're progressing and going up and down the pitch as much as an attacker might be, because you've got to remember our forwards have got to do some defensive duties as well. And I think he's quite a fit guy. Do you know what? It's really weird for me. To me, he looks like a really clumsy player, but he's not.
It's quite elegant, isn't he, on the ball, really?
Yeah, exactly. That's it exactly. And I didn't see what Arteta saw in him. I've got to be honest. And if Arteta pulls this out of the bag, wow. Everyone is focusing on Rice, and rightly so. Everyone is focusing on the signing of Rice, and rightly so. We would have probably been focusing on Timber, and rightly so. But he could have actually done a hat-trick here. Obviously, I'm not including Raya at the moment. I'm just talking about the three, because Raya's not actually signing as such. He is, but he isn't. Do you know what I mean? But we haven't forked out the money for him. But it could be a hat-trick here of successful signings. And I hope it is, because I'm so pleased for the guy. He even said it in the interview. He goes, look, I am getting more confident. It didn't start off well. The first 2 months I didn't start off well. And now I feel like I'm contributing to the game now more. And hopefully that I'll just have that carry on this confidence going forward. So he spoke quite well.
I mean, in the last month of anything, he definitely must feel like he's really contributing now. I mean, big goal away at Brentford 100%. Last minute. City, he creates the assist. This game he scores to sort of win the game for us.
He's made points for us, Jack.
Yeah, big time, and it's paying off. I was almost a month ago. I was almost saying I don't think we should be using him at the 8 anymore. I was saying it, and he's persisted with it.
You're not saying anything different to other people, Jack. You're not wrong in that. End of the day, you can only judge something. That's why you do this podcast. You're doing it because you want to talk about a game. You can't see into the future, mate. You're talking about what you've seen. And if you've seen a performance, even from someone like Saka, you'll talk about it. You're not going to ignore it. And that's just the way it is. And we're not trying to be delusional. We're not trying to blow smoke out of people's rear ends. We're just saying it as it is. We're stating facts. And I was one. I'm not going to sit there abusing players like some idiots on Twitter do or social media do, and they really go to the nth degree, and it's horrible and disgusting the abuse some of our players get. Of course, we're not going to do that, but we are going to criticise if we think that it's the right thing to do and the right call to make. And I've got to say, I think he's done a hell of a job recently, and for him to take that abuse and to just ride above it and come out the way he has, I think it's a testament to the guy, and good luck to him. And I really hope that he becomes a necessary and important cog in the wheel of this club that's going forward.
Yeah.
And I think it's possible, mate. I really do.
Well, we need him to. What was quite encouraging, just Smith Rowe came on, should have scored as well. I mean, he had a great chance.
Yeah.
It was nice to see him get in that position. It was nice to see him come on in a Prem game.
Brilliant.
He came on a little bit midweek, and it's good to see him back amongst the squad. Gives us an option from the bench, doesn't he?
100%. I think 100%. And you know how much I love him. I hope he's got a future at this club. I really do. I know you guys, and I think you're right, because you're thinking about how we're going to financially balance the books. Yeah. And if we're going to, we do need some further big investments. I don't disagree with any of that. You and James talk about it a lot, and I don't disagree. And you're thinking, well, how? It's like that when you were debating about Tierney. You said he's probably one of the ones that's going to generate money. Ironically, he didn't, and he's gone on a loan. But you're looking at what players are going to have any value here. And you've cited, potentially Eddie and Ramsdale, and of course Smith Rowe, because if he's not playing, then maybe that's the logical thing to do from a business point of view. And so whilst I'm like with a kind of, how can you say, devil's advocate head on, I agree with that. From my heart, no, I don't want to sell him anytime soon, because I think there's such a great player in him. And look, if yesterday or today for you again is anything to go by, even if just that one moment of him doing what we were used to seeing him doing when he was bang on form is an indication that he's even slightly on the right path back again, there's a hell of a player there, Jack. And just having said that, credit to the goalkeeper, because that move that led to Odegaard bringing out a good save, one-handed save from the goalkeeper, that could have been a goal as well. So it's again fine margins, isn't it? Yeah. So we didn't finish as well as we should have done, but then the goalkeeper made a couple of good saves, to be fair to them. But I was very encouraged by Smith Rowe. Yeah, and maybe feature the cup game, which is coming up very soon.
Yeah, exactly. And the two things he's got to do is he's got to stay fit, and he's got to make an impact from the bench in these games, because I think he will get a lot of sort of 10, 15-minute periods. I know it's not a lot, but he will. And if he can make an impact, a significant impact in one or two of those, then, he's got a chance of being here beyond the summer. I think in the summer we might get reevaluated. I don't think we'll do anything with him in January, because he just got fit. Mikel Arteta's talked glowingly about his rehab and all this kind of stuff.
This is where all the players applauded him as well, didn't they?
Nice. They clearly, love the guy, and they know his talent and all that kind of stuff. But it was good. He could have scored at the end. I was really kind of frustrated. I was like, that would have been icing on the cake to get him a goal. But overall, fantastic performance. Mikel Arteta said, he thought it was incredible the way we played, and I agree with him. I thought we were fantastic after a couple of a disappointing result, and then obviously midweek wasn't disappointing as such because it was a heavily rotated side and we topped the group. But really, really good. Any thoughts on the other games that you saw this week? Obviously, I think there were two very unexpected results. Obviously, Palace are literally injury ravaged, and they've been dreadfully poor, and they were very unlucky actually against Liverpool at home last week when they silly got a red card when they were 1-0 up and lost the game. And honestly, I was watching it. I was like, Liverpool really barely created anything in that game. But in the Liverpool, I just can't believe how defensive United are. To be honest, as a big six team, if you like, it's kind of, I think it's a poor advert for the Premier League. And I think some people have come out and said, well, they've got to play that way because they're injury ravaged. I'm like, you don't see the likes of Brighton and even Luton playing that way when they've got injuries, and they've got you've got a squad full of international stars here. So I just watching it. Going, I don't know how they can get away with playing this way, but somehow Liverpool didn't score, so that was nice and sort of kept us at the top of the league. And then and the City one was hilarious. I mean, I don't know if you got a chance to watch it, but did you?
I was on the way home. I didn't really see much of it.
If you get a chance to watch the last couple of minutes, it's really funny. Okay. It's really, really funny because it just doesn't look like anything's happening, and suddenly they win the ball back, and Foden literally almost breaks Mateta's leg. I mean, it's just an incredible foul. He goes to clear the ball, doesn't realise Mateta's way ahead of him, and he's just absolutely smashed him in the shin. And I don't know why, but Pep Guardiola's going mad on the sidelines. And I think there's a clip of Roy Hodgson just laughing, because even Hodgson at 80 years old must be looking at it going, what are you moaning about? Like, he's literally kicked. Oh, it's the most obvious penalty you ever see. And and they walk away with a 2-2 draw, which is quite hilarious, really, because you didn't expect that. So that was fantastic, and the Liverpool one, obviously they are a pretty formidable team at home, but and we've got that.
The one I did see was the craziness at the Villa game, Brentford. The madness that was going on there.
Watch that. There was a lot of little handbags.
Oh my goodness, bro! The handbags and Martinez. Oh, mate.
Oh, he's a big.
You know what? I was crying when we sold him because I thought, what an amazing job he had done. Now I'm so glad. All right, look, I still think he's a great goalkeeper. I think he's a World Cup winner, for goodness sake. But his antics, Jack.
He's a dipstick. Well, he did it against us last week, didn't he? I mean,
horrible person.
Keepers shouldn't be out of hold. I mean, he must have wasted. I think we got 4 minutes injury time at Villa. He had the ball. He had the ball in his hands for about 12 minutes.
Absolutely,
so it's incredible, and that's why they're one team. I think I said it a few years ago against Villa. I said that you don't want to go down against Villa because he will literally drag everything out of the game time, and it's really frustrating. He's dangerous, actually, Martinez, because he's a moment's goalkeeper, and at the moment Villa are having a big moment, they're right at the top of the league, and he will absolutely thrive on that. He will absolutely thrive on it, and he's a goalkeeper for big moments, as we saw in the cup final. But if they can get a few losses and work their way back down, he'll start throwing them in the back of his net again, because he does do that too. He has the habit of doing that too. So, but that was tremendously one of the biggest frustrations of last week, seeing his little grin, the dipstick. But very annoying. Champions League, top the group, fantastic group stage so far. Obviously not done anything yet, but really good group stage, comfortable. Champions League draw is today, somewhere around. So we figured it was somewhere around 2-3 p.m. I think, and Arsenal's possible. Did I just lose it? Oh jeez, Neil, I just lost it.
I tried to look for it when you start recording, I couldn't find it, so I'm relying on you.
So Arsenal's Champions League opponents for today, with the predictions are. Arsenal's possible Champions League opponents are. I know PSG is one. Inter is another. It doesn't sound easy, does it, from those two? Copenhagen, Inter Milan, Lazio, Napoli, Porto, PSG, or RB Leipzig. Who are you going for? Who are we getting?
So they're all
just who's got a hunch?
PSG.
PSG, Leipzig, Porto, Napoli, Lazio, Inter, Copenhagen.
I go either one of Lazio, Napoli, PSG.
You're picking all of them. I'm only looking for one answer.
Well, all right. One answer, PSG then.
John said PSG. Actually, what he texted me was, I'm hearing it's PSG. I'm like, the draw isn't being made, John, so you're not hearing anything. But
he's a time traveller. He knows everything. So.
Yeah. My dad says Copenhagen. Right.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I said Lazio. I don't know why I said Lazio. I just, when I saw the names come up, that was the one I hinted at. I mean, there's quite a heavy chance it could be an Italian team. There's 3 possible Italian teams out of Inter, Lazio, Napoli. I
don't know why PSG is calling me.
Yeah, on paper, PSG are probably the second hardest draw after Inter Milan. I'd say Inter Milan are the hardest draw there. I mean, they were expected to top their group, and they ended up level on points with Real Sociedad.
We just always get a hard. You remember when we were in it constantly, but either always get Barcelona in the groups or the knockouts, and then obviously or Bayern Munich, wasn't it? It was always We'd somehow get through the group stage, and it'd be Barcelona or Bayern Munich every time. It was ridiculous, bar maybe a couple of seasons where he didn't. So it's got to be one of the tough ones. Yeah, absolutely. No, it could well be. Who would you like? I mean, I find that one hard because you always. I mean, my dad said Copenhagen. I'd say on paper Copenhagen probably looks like the best draw, probably. And then after that, maybe you say Porto or Leipzig, but
But I don't think there's no easy draws in the knockouts, is there?
No, that's
after
true.
Champions League, we've seen that before. We've gone out to the likes of PSV in the knockouts and stuff like that, haven't we, in the past?
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily always about the big hitters, but hopefully we get a favourable draw, whatever that means, and we can look at it and be excited about it. It's great to be in the draw. It's great to be in the draw.
Oh, it's just fun, isn't it? It's exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, very exciting.
They play February, the beginning of February.
Yeah, I think it's Feb. So we got some time. Look at the draw, see what we got, see when the games come up of we're home and away and stuff like that. But all right, so you're going PSG, I'm going Lazio. Next week, Neil, massive game. 5:30 game at Anfield. It's been I think 2012-13 was the last
10 years
we had at Anfield. James, I think, told me that was the first game of the season where Podolski and Santi Cazorla scored. If I'm wrong on that, please someone let me know, but I think that's what we decided was our last win there. We should have won there last year in the sense that we were so dominant early on, but then I could see Liverpool's argument that they in the end we got away with a point in a way, but how that game flipped on its head, it was really a game of two halves, wasn't it? But they're really dangerous now. I mean, they had a 100% record until today, and they should have battered Man U, to be fair. They're really dangerous. They're right up there in the top of the league. He's replaced players well. They look, very strong again. The free flowing goal scoring. They're vulnerable at the back. I think they are vulnerable at the back. They have the best defensive record alongside us, but I see different game management when I watch them as opposed to us personally. But it doesn't matter at Anfield. Do you know what I mean? Like, we all know that Anfield is just a place that can gobble any team up.
100%.
And it's a real test. So what's your thoughts on it, Neil? I mean, we don't have, barring it, if everyone's fit, I think the team almost picks itself at this point. Some people, I think, last week were saying things like, I think there's a game to bring Jorginho back in, but I think he was obviously out today with sickness, and a few players had sickness, apparently. But I think...
Yeah, apparently Rice was one of the names coming out.
Yes, which looks incredible. Him and Martinelli just recovered from it, and they look like, they
unbelievable.
Unbelievable, yeah. But what are your thoughts on the game, Neil? It's a massive game. It's one of the biggest games of the season for sure, and we notoriously don't do very well there.
Well, it's a top table clash, isn't it? I mean, I'm not sure many people were expecting Liverpool to be potentially one of the teams that are involved in the title chase, but they're up there. We're fighting with them against at the moment, and surprisingly Aston Villa, but fair play. I think my thoughts are that we don't fall a crop of the last two seasons where we've let the crowd get to us, and we've encouraged from something indirect. It's encouraged and enticed the crowd to change the game. We had the incident with Arteta v Klopp, and then we had the incident with Trent and Xhaka. And for me, and I think you guys had said it perfectly well at the times of both incidents, that kind of changed the game, because up to both those incidents, we were probably, I think with the Klopp versus Arteta, we were probably matching them. I think Liverpool were a full team.
Was it like 4-0 or something to win that game? Or was it 2? It might have been 2-0. I can't even remember, but we lost comfortably.
Yeah. But up to that point, I think we were doing all right. We're matching them. And then the one last season, we know what happened there. We were absolutely dominant. We were fuming and frustrated because we did the same thing with West Ham, letting the 2-0 lead. We were brilliant against. That was the best I've seen we play at Anfield. The best for years, without a doubt, without a question or a shadow of a doubt. I was loving that game, because I thought, when's the last time we've done this at Anfield?
The crazy thing was they weren't very good there either. Like, I mean, at that point in the season, that was a kickstart for them. Yeah, they went on a really good run and almost made the top four. They were down in 6th or 7th at that point.
Absolutely that, exactly. Yeah. And it's so frustrating. So my thoughts are that if we don't let the crowd win, and if we don't do anything stupid to entice the crowd, I think on paper we're good enough to, well, at the very minimum, get a point. But I think that's where I'm going with it. I think I'll be happy. I'm never happy with a draw. I always want to win, but I think I will be happy with a point at Anfield. I know it's.
What is it? Sorry to push it.
I don't want to say it because I never say draws. My head is actually saying 2-2.
Okay. That was last year's, wasn't it? That was last year's. Yeah. And
my heart is saying we win 2-1. My head is saying 2-2. difficult one.
Yeah,
but I think it really depends. I think we'll go with the team we had today or yesterday.
Yeah, I don't think we can change. That's what I was saying. I don't think we can change it because I don't think Jorginho's played enough to change it, and we've not actually played Jorginho Rice for a while.
I think we need to change it. Do you?
I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, I know what people will say. They'll say, if you had Tomiyasu, you'd play him at left back in this game.
That is different, though. If we had Tomiyasu,
yeah. But funny enough, I mean, we didn't have Tomiyasu last year, so I guess it ruled it out. But we played Zinchenko there last year as well. But I think my biggest concern is not actually playing Zinchenko. It's being able to bring him off. That's my biggest concern. And that was the issue last year. We didn't have anyone to bring him off for 70 minutes, and we were almost in the same predicament this year, which leaves us pretty, in a sort of, kind of interesting predicament. But okay, so 2-2 or 2-1. Well, in either of those instances, we score. So who would be the first scorer?
Havertz.
Yeah, like it. It'd be a big goal. I'll go 2-1 Arsenal. We got to win this sometime.
Good man.
Got to believe in you. You got to believe in you. But I think it'll be dreadful. I mean, more of hope than hunch. But I just it's been a long time. I agree with you. I thought it was one of our best performances in that first 45 minutes, and then it all flipped on its head for whatever reason. But look, I mean, I think they've got a midweek game in the League Cup against West Ham, which they'll obviously rotate heavily for, and they've got some really dangerous players. Trent's playing really well. Salah, obviously, Van Dijk looks like he's back to his best. All that kind of stuff. So they're obviously really playing well, and at home they're obviously a really tough side. But if we can turn up and we can play, like we did this week, we can turn up and we play for the whole 90 minutes. I think we've got a chance. I think we've got a chance to really get at them at the back. Obviously, we've got to be better than our finishing.
Did you say score? Top first scorer?
Oh, I didn't. I'll go Rice. For score.
All right,
yeah.
Cool. So we both went for midfield kind of players. Yeah. Okay.
And I will say, I mean, I don't want to say it, but the times that we've won it, won the thing under us. We've always played Liverpool first away, I believe, in the last two that we've won, and we've always beat them 2-1 as well. In the last two, which is interesting. Obviously. Yeah, so you got good omens. Never know. There's no link, but good omens. But the one thing we won't get a strong referee because there isn't one in the league. So we've got to play against that too, and and I think that will be a big factor as well. So we've got to make sure we're better than we were at Newcastle and at Villa, because we're going to have to be in order to get something. And Newcastle, we didn't create enough, I don't think, but Villa, we were completely dominant, but our finishing would have to be a lot better if we were to get those sort of chances, But it'll be a fascinating game, I think, but a very nervy one. I'm really worried about it. I'm actually
I like in your position though. You made me feel a bit more at ease now.
Yeah.
If Jack is going for a win against Anfield, anything's possible in life. Yeah. Everything is possible in life. I might win the lottery. Yeah.
I'm kind of thankful though. I don't know about you, but it's been relentless, isn't it? But when I didn't even know about, look, we don't have a game in midweek, and I'm like, kind of thankful, to be honest. I just want to sort of, review this game a little bit.
I don't know if that always works in favour though, because we've had situations where a team has had a couple of games more than us, and in this situation, it doesn't. It's League Cup. I mean, Jurgen Klopp regards domestic cups lower than almost anyone in the league. He didn't even show up for them a couple of years ago. He said, that's right. Yeah, he didn't even show up.
Yeah. And now it was hilarious that, because a couple of years ago they won them, didn't they? They won the Carling Cup and the FA Cup, and they were almost going for the quadruple, but they lost the big ones. And I went, see that, and that serves you right, because you disregarded the domestic cups, and now you got to hold them, and act like that's a trophy. So there you go. So that's what I was saying. That's the one thing with Wenger. He really highly regarded, much more than even Arteta. He really highly regarded the domestic cups, and even the Carling Cup. I know we never won it under Wenger, but
he at least gave the youngsters a chance.
He did, and we got far in it a lot with those youngsters.
Got to semi-finals a few times.
Got to the final and lost
final
to Chelsea. Yeah,
that's right.
And he did, but I don't think Klopp regards it any more than the Europa League group stage, and I think he'll probably rotate him.
Yeah, you're right.
So I don't think it'll matter, but it's still something for them to think about. Hopefully West Ham show up with their first 11 and decide they're going to run them ragged. Bowen and kudos, please. Yes, thank you very much. So that'll be nice. So I don't know. The fact there's a couple of midweek games on that aren't us that I can just watch without the stresses of. I'm like, all right, I'll take that because it's enough to build up to, isn't it, on Saturday? But yeah, mate, I don't know. Hopefully we'll be back after next Saturday's game, and we're at Purely Arsenal FP on Twitter. So look us up on Twitter. Purely Arsenal on YouTube. Podcast come out a little bit earlier there. Free to subscribe. No adverts. All that good stuff. And ask us your questions at Purely Arsenal FP.
Just tribute to the poor chap that died so young. I think Arsenal did a nice tribute to him. I can't believe I forgot his name. Christ. The guy that died, he does talk sport on the Arsenal media.
Oh, yes, Russell.
That's it, Russell.
Russell, yeah. You know what's incredible about that? Because when I saw it, and I didn't recognise the name, but when I'm listening, I'm like, hold on a minute, he's been commentating for this season and last season's games with Jeremy Adair and other people. The voice is very, you recognise commentators from the voice. Correct. So that's really, really
crazy.
It was a nice little tribute video they did. But again, like you said, it's I don't know what happened, but really, really young, and that's very, very sad. So, yeah, mate.
I liked it because I saw that even the Brighton fans were clapping when they did it, and that was nice. That was good of them.
It's a good gesture. Yeah. Well, I got a lot of respect for Brighton, to be honest. I mean, they give us top players at times as well, so we can't moan too much. But
yes, true.
Yeah, and they give the ones that we somehow wanted but aren't very good anymore to Chelsea, which is fantastic. So the Cucurellas and Caicedos of this world. So it's all good. It's all good. They've and their manager from there, they got a better one. Brighton really ruined Chelsea, didn't they? It was really good. It was really fantastic. So another reason to like them. But Neil, we will be back after Saturday's game. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for listening to us.
Thanks for everyone.
Up the Arsenal. We're top of the league, and let's keep it that way, shall we?